Hi, it's Chris. Today I'm going to explain you a simple workflow, and I will also tell you why the Copilot or why an AI agent may be like a good perspective of helping us, but maybe not the best perspective of, let's say, replacing another engineer. So let's have a look. This is my website on the current build. You know that this is a local deployment. Basically, it could be also your app that is constructed somewhere. The core idea is that I'm running this one here locally. So basically, I can have the npm run build or run dev. So this is the run dev. I want to push this one here on my server. So I want to make sure that, let's say, this one is done. So I have local development. I will fly some pre-commit checks and then push to GitHub before GitHub is automatically using the CI/CD pipeline to bring it then in production. So by using those 5 steps, I make sure that the code that I'm writing fails as soon as possible. So fails as soon as possible means I don't need to, let's say, wait until this pipeline here is run, or I don't need to, let's say, ask or wait for somebody on my team asking me like that the production is not working or something like that. No, I have the big advantage that in my local development, I can also locally run some pre-commit checks. So I will now show you how we do. So basically, this is then the site, and the core architecture is that we want to make sure that those checks here will pass some code quality, style, also detect some errors, and so on. So locally, the test will be run successful, and only if yes, the commit is allowed. This is very important because we don't want to run those tests all the time manually or maybe forget something. It should be as soon as possible, as quick as possible, and as automated as possible. And of course, this is not something AI related yet, but AI will help us. So you will see how we're gonna do. So basically, what I need to do here to push my code out on GitHub and ship it with the GitHub pages, I need to have the static files rendered. So the static files rendered is something that that my CI/CD pipeline is basically doing. So if we're having a look in the deployment, it will run a little bit like of the debug, and then it is going to build the static export over here. So the static export is important so that we ship it right away. Let's have a look how this may look like. So I was shipping this one here, and this is then the build if it will run, and we're using the npm CI for that, so that it's making sure that all the files are rendered, but actually it's failing here. So of course I was having a look with Copilot and just saying, hey, explain me what happened here. So I start and go back and forth, but Copilot is of course intelligent because it's an AI, but it's not as intelligent enough to have a look on, let's say, what's going on my server. So I was going forth and back and having, like, you see, like quite a conversation here. So it still takes a little bit, let's say, of root cause analysis, so that I had the idea, I was giving the idea basically to Copilot, hey, please have a look on my deployment workflow, and then have a look like what is happening here. So I found out that the npm version on the GitHub runner is another one that I'm running here. So if I type on npm version or npm version, or is it v? Yeah. So you see that this is 11.11.0, but the one that is on the GitHub runner may be 10 dot something something. So we have to make sure that this is upgraded. And Copilot didn't see this one. So we have two possibilities here. So first of all, I mean, this is root cause analysis. This is like a developer or engineer architect is usually doing. That makes a lot of sense, so that we can upgrade it here. And then we can bring it basically into our checks here, into the pre-commit checks. And that was actually a cool thing. I asked Copilot to add something like that, and I'm not finding this one where it exactly implemented it here, but I will show you. So before it runs, it will use the Husky. And Husky is a service um, that will link the commit messages, the code, and then the run test to test those file changes before it's committing. So basically, it is exactly doing the pre-commit checks. So Husky is the tool that we want to implement here. It was a great recommendation by GitHub. Before we implement something like that, though, we should always check that this one here is, let's say, supported by a big group. They use used by a big community and so on. So on the pages here by Husky, you see that they have quite some sponsors and quite some supporting groups. So this is generally like a good sign, let's say, for your architecture to build this one. So I was implementing this one here, and before the commit is able to run, it will run the pre-check. We'll have a look how this is looking like. So you see that it is running the npm build, and also if we're having a look on the Husky, the pre-commit, like the file, it's doing a linting. So basically those two things are easy steps. If we have a look back here, this is the pre-commit check, and we can of course then have other things like formatting, unit tests, secret scan, whatever we need in perspective and in respect of our architecture. So once it's finished, it was bringing all the files here and making sure that that the files here are correct, because when I was running it, the error message was that both of the files were not alike, and this is happening because there's like a mismatch between the local and the server version, which is running back on the npm version that we have here, and that was 10 point something something. So again, it's not about just AI to solve all of those production things and the nitty-gritty details, but it's more on the developer or also the architect to understand what's happening here. So this is interesting. I was then pushing it again, like basically running here like the pre-check flights, or actually the pre-check flights were run automatically, and then I was just git pushing it. So I did it for you here, and then after I added this once with GitHub Runner, it was running smoothly. So you can also see here in the upgrade to the 11.11, it was installing it on the Ubuntu machine, on the GitHub Runner, so that was running very smooth. Then I found out it was pushing it to my site here, but the thing is that it has to run always on like en or de, like basically local, because this is the static file behind, and the file structure behind here is then actually the output, and you see in the out, so the out is basically then the file structure that is gonna be directly here, but there is no index. The index is basically in the en, so this is why we want to have like the en. So I was thinking, okay, how can we run this one here? And I asked then Copilot to add it in the deployment file here. So it says, okay, well, I'm creating the root, and I directly bring all of that. So I basically transfer it. So let's have a look if this one is working. We're gonna keep all of those files that I created. I checked a little bit of different things, and now we're gonna see what happens. So we're gonna say fix rerouting. Now, this is not very nicely written. We'll come back to that later, but for this moment it's okay. And now you also see that the changes here, it takes a little while because we saw before that it's running the build. So the build needs, of course, then a little bit of time to run locally, and then it checks also the linting. So now, as everything is okay, we can sync the changes and we can then see live what happened. So fix rerouting is what we want to have a look at. So here is the GitHub Actions. Here is the fixed rerouting, and it's all in progress. So the build steps have the upgrade, it's debugging, it's creating the cache, it is also doing some other debugging, so this is all fine. And now it's installing the dependency. So let's see what happened. Didn't try it yet. It will be very interesting to see. So here we go with the static export. It's basically doing the same that it was doing here, but only on the GitHub server. So basically what we have now is here running the CI/CD pipeline, like building the same again, but just making sure that it is also running on the GitHub service, so that it is basically then also serving on the production. This is what you want to achieve every time. In every push and every commitment that you have towards your app. So, all right, then let's have a look here. It says it was all completed. So what is the overview saying? It is fine, and we're gonna go on the website. Et voila, there we go. So let's see if this is really working. Seems great. So you see, seems great. We can have a look here what it says. In the console, if it says something, no, it's rerouted, everything is fine, amazing. Also, you see how quick all of that works. Like these are two different sites here for the blog, about, and so on. It's super rapid. This is exactly what we want. So basically what I'm trying to give you as a message today is installing this one here makes a lot of sense, but it's kind of like traditional, more a traditional CI/CD pipeline or DevOps pipeline. In combination though with the Copilot here, it is great. It will run up your, or it will really speed up your cycle. And of course, because there's the pre-commit, you can make sure that you have all the linting formatting, security scans, and so on enabled. So this is amazing. Also, it is amazing that, let's say, you want to have something like a troubleshooting guide, yeah, for the next time. Like for me, very helpful in this perspective. I asked it to write a troubleshooting guide, and you see this one here was adding the page logging file error, and I also asked it to have another one for basically the version mismatch on the one side here for the GitHub runner and on my local development, so that I can have a look and find out that the next time if I forget it, or another developer will, or engineer will update the code, that they will understand quicker what's happening. Maybe not them, but also it's possible that GitHub or also Claude is doing that. By the way, I didn't check if Claude may be quicker in doing this one, or it may understand that there's a mismatch between the GitHub runner and my local development. So what we learned today is that pre-commit checks make a lot of sense in terms of this runner here, in terms of speed, fail fast, fail early. So this is basically what we want to see. Yeah. So in terms of AI, cloud, and then CI/CD pipelines, this means AI accelerates us because we were seeing the GitHub creating the files and adding all of the stuff. But there is also the developer or the engineer mandatory, because they determine what ships, and they also understand if there's a problem, they will find the root cause analysis. So basically this AI accelerates and the architecture governs. So you can have a look here on my website because it's live right now for next contents. Thank you so much, and see you next time.